Today we are doing lesson 3.4, solving equations using multiplication and division. It's our second day doing this lesson, so this will be a review from what we did yesterday. All right, so first thing that we're going to do, there are a few reminders over here of our rules for multiplication and division equations. We need to make sure we use multiplication to cancel division, and we use division to cancel multiplication. And then our rules for multiplication and division, same signs, answers positive, different signs, answers negative. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one. It says solve each equation and check your solution, which means that we do need to write down a check. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this first one. So I have -3/10 y equals 2 4/10. So I've got to divide both sides by -3/10. I'm dividing because my original problem was multiplication. A number right next to a letter means multiplication. We're dividing by the number in front. So this was negative. We're dividing by a negative. Okay, -3/10 divided by -3/10 equals +1. So we have 1y. Over here, it's a little hard to see my negative, so I'm just going to rewrite it there. We're going to move the decimal one place over so that our second number becomes a whole number or an integer. All right, so now I have 24 divided by -3. I just rewrote it off to the side because this is a little sloppy to read. Okay, 24 divided by -3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Different signs, answers, negative. So my answer on this one is going to be -8. To check, we put it back into the solution, to the original equation. So 3/10, and then instead of y, we're going to put 8 equals, oh look, I almost made a mistake. This was -8, so I need to make sure I write -8 in that parentheses, equals 2 4/10. Okay, I'm going to write my multiplication off to the side. 8 times 3 is 24. One decimal there in the problem, one decimal in my answer. These were both negatives. I should have written the negatives down when I wrote the problem. Same sign, answer is positive. So, yep, I did my work and I checked it. It is correct. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video. Try these next two problems on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. So for this next one, I've got division, and we need to cancel that out with multiplication. The -3 is what we need to cancel out, so that's what we're going to multiply on both sides. So I'm going to do times -3 here. I'm going to do times -3 on this side. -3 divided by -3 is +1, so I'm left with x. -2.5 times 3. I'm going to rewrite it vertically. The one with the most place values is going to go on the top. I'm going to think about it as 25 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. One decimal in the problem, one decimal in the answer. Same signs, answer is positive. X is going to be a +7.5. Okay, I'm going to do my check over here. So 7.5 divided by -3 equals -2.5. I actually have to show the work for it. I can't just say, yep, that's right. So I'm going to set up my division here, 7.5. On the outside, 3 on the inside. I'm sorry, I wrote it correctly, but I said it wrong. 7.5 on the inside, -3 on the outside. 3 goes into 7 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. We bring down the 5. We need to bring up that decimal. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. We had different signs, positive, negative, so answer is going to be negative. So yes, I've checked it and it's correct. All right, let's take a look at this next one. So here I've got a fraction that I'm getting rid of. This is multiplication. So I cancel that out with division. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 8/9. Negative 8/9 divided by negative 8/9 equals positive 1. Okay. All right, over here, 4.5. I need to make that an improper fraction for my fraction division. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So I have 9 halves, and then I'm going to do keep change flip. So flip, change to multiplication, or I'm sorry, change to multiplication, and then flip here, keep change flip. So this is going to be a negative 9/8. I don't have anything to cross cancel here, so I've got to multiply straight across. 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. 8 times 2 is 16. So I have negative 81/16. Now that's an improper fraction, so I'm going to need to make that into a mixed number. Those numbers are a little big for me to do in my head. So I'm going to do the division off to the side. 16 goes into 81 5 times. Pretty sure I'm just going to double check that. Let's see, I'll do it over here. 16 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. Yep, 80. Okay. So that's 80. Subtract to get 1. So that's going to be 5 and 1/16. This was negative, so my answer is negative. Negative 5 and 1/16 equals, okay, that's my final answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it. I'm going to put this back into the original equation. 4.5 equals negative 8/9 times, and since I know I'm doing multiplication, I'm going to just put it in as that mixed number. I'm sorry, improper fraction, negative 81/16. Okay, I've got some really big numbers here, so I am going to cross cancel. 81 divided by 9, they're both divisible by 9. 81 divided by 9 is 9. This was negative, so it's going to be a negative 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 8 and 16 are both divisible by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. And negative 8 divided by 8 is negative 1. So now I'm ready to multiply. I can bring down my 4.5. 1 times negative 9 is negative 1 times negative 9 is going to be a positive 9. 1 times 2 is 2. And then 9 halves, 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 as a remainder. So 4.5 does mean the same thing as 9 halves. So yes, we solved our equation correctly. Let's take a look at some story problems here. So it says a stock has a return of negative $1.40 per day. Write and solve an equation to find the number of days until the total return is, remember that's our equal signs when we're writing equations, negative $12.60. Per is our number to mean multiplication. And since we're looking for the number of days, we're going to use D. You can use whatever letter you want, but I'm going to use D. So negative 101 and 40 hundredths times D. I don't really need that time sign, so I'm just going to write D equals negative $12.60. This is multiplication, so we're going to cancel it out with division. So on both sides, we're dividing by a negative 1 and 40 hundredths. Negative 1 and 40 hundredths divided by negative 1 and 40 hundredths is positive 1. So I've got positive 1D. Over here, I've got 2 decimals on the bottom, so I need to move my 2 decimals on the top. So now when I do my division, I have 1,260 divided by negative 140. Different signs. I know my answer is going to be negative. I'm going to go ahead and write that negative sign up there so don't forget. 140 does not go into 1, does not go into 2, does not go into 126, does go into 1,260. So I need to make a guess. I'm thinking maybe 8 times. Not exactly sure. So I'm going to need to do a little guess and check off to the side. So 140 times 8. Let's see, 0 times 8 is 0. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay, 1,200. It looks like if I add in an extra 140, that takes me to the number that I need. So instead of 8 times, it actually was 9 times. I had to add in an extra 1 there. All right, when I subtract, I get a remainder of 0. So the number of days is 9. It does not say I have to check it, so I don't have to formally write a check. It's always a good idea to go back here. I could do $1.40 times 9 and see if I get that $12.60. All right. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I wrote a negative here because I forgot to write my negative in this one. This is actually, it is a positive 9 because I have same signs being divided over here. All right, let's look at our next problem. The price of a bike at store A is 5/6 of the price at store B. The price at store A is $150.60. Write and solve an equation to find the price of the bike at store B, and then how much do you save? So really they're asking us to do two things, write and solve the equation, and then figure out how much do we save. Okay, store A is $150.60. So store A is $150.60 is means equals of, when it comes after a fraction decimal or percent means times. And then the price at store B, I'm just going to use the letter B for that. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so now I'm ready to write my equation. $150.60 equals 5/6 times B. Okay, so fraction here, I need to divide by 5/6. If you want to jump right to multiplying by the reciprocal, you can. Okay, 5/6 divided by 5/6 is 1, so I'm left with B. I'm going to keep my 150 and I'm going to write it this way. Now, really, this isn't a proper fraction because I've got a decimal in it, but I'm going to show you why I do that in just a second. Times, keep, change, flip. I'm going to flip that to be 6/5. Okay. So I'm going to multiply 150 and 60 times 6, and then 1 times 5. So I need to do a little work here. $150.60 times 6. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. 6 times 5 is 30. 30. Write down the 0, carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. 2 decimals in the problem, 2 decimals in the answer. So I have 903 and 60/100. 1 times 5 is 5. This means division, so I do need to fully divide it all the way out. So now I'm going to do $903.60 divided by 5. 5 goes into 9 twice. 2 times, nope, does not go into 9 twice. let's fix that. Okay, try again. 5 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. We're going to bring down that 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract to get a 0, so we're going to bring down the 3. 5 does not go into 3 a whole number of times, so I'm going to put a 0. I'm going to bring up the decimal. I'm going to bring down the 6. 5 goes into 36 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. 36 minus 35 is 1. Bring down the 0 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Phew. Okay, so when I do that division, I get $180.72. That is my answer for part 1. The cost at store B, $180.72. How much do we save? We need to subtract. $180.72 minus $150.60. 2 minus 0 is 2. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down that decimal. 0 minus 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. All right, let's take a look at our next problem here. So in a school election, 3/4 of the students vote. There are 1,462 ballots. Write and solve an equation to find the number of students in the school. All right, of coming after a fraction, decimal, or percent means times. So 3/4 times. Here is our equal sign, and then that's what it's going to equal, 1,462. We're looking for a number of students. I'm going to call that S. So 3/4 times our students S. All right, so here's our equation. 3/4 S equals 1,462. I'm going to cancel out this fraction. You can divide by 3/4. I'm going to go ahead and do keep, change, flip, and just make that a times 4/3. Times 4/3 on this side as well. I'm going to make that an improper fraction by putting it over 1. All right, my 4's cancel out. My 3's cancel out. I'm left with an S. Okay, so now I need to do 1,462 times 4. It's a pretty big math problem, so I am going to need to actually write it out off to the side. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So now I have 5,848. 1 times 3 is 3 over 3. So now I need to do the division. 5,848 divided by 3. 3 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down the 8. Okay, and then 3 goes into 28. Let's see, that would be 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. 28 minus 27 is 1. Bring down the 4. 3 goes into 14. 4 times 4 times 3 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Bring down that 8. 3 goes into 28 9 times. 9 times 3 is 28. I'm sorry, 27. Okay. Add a decimal. Add a 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, get a 1, I get 10 again, so I'm going to have a pattern. Okay, so when I solve my equation, I get 1,949 and 3/10 repeating. However, I can't have 3/10 of a repeating of a student. So that means I need to round. So I'm going to say that's 1,950 students. Sometimes in story problems, you do need to think about whether a fraction or decimal answer makes sense. All right, here are 4 equations to try on your own. Pause the video and go ahead and try them. Okay, let's check our answers. So here I have 3 and 2/10 times n equals -8/10. So this is multiplication. I'm going to cancel it out with division. So I have n equals, and then I'm going to move my decimal 1 place over. I'm just going to rewrite it so it's a little neater. -8 divided by 32. I can't say 32 divided by 8 is 4. My answer is 4. This is -8 divided by 32. So if I want to think about it as a fraction, I could simplify it. If I want to do the division, which I'm guessing most of you probably did the division, so I'm going to go ahead and do it that way. 32 does not go into 8 a whole number of times, so I'm going to add a 0 and a decimal and a decimal and a 0. 32 does go into 80. It's going to go in twice. And 2 times 32 is 64. Okay, let's see, I need to borrow here. That 8's going to become a 7, and then I've got a 10 here. 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. All right, so now I need to add a 0 and bring it down. 32 goes into 165 times exactly. So I have 25 hundredths. If I go back over to my original problem, different signs, answer is negative. So I have negative 25 hundredths. Directions didn't say specifically to check it, so if you didn't do a check, that's okay. If you do want to check it, you're going to put this in for n and multiply these together to see if you get your final answer. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. -15 equals x divided by -2. We cancel out division with multiplication, so we're going to be multiplying by -2. -2 divided by -2 is a positive 1, so I'm left with x. -2 times -15 is a positive 30. Same signs, answers positive for multiplication and division. Let's look at this next one. -3/10 times h equals 15. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, keep, change, flip. -10/3 times -10/3. I do need to make that into an improper, so 15 over 1. My 10s cancel out, my 3s cancel out, my negatives cancel out, leaves me with h. Okay, I am going to cross cancel. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 times -10 is -50. 1 times 1 is 1, so I have h equals -50. And my last one, g divided by 3 thousandths equals -2 and 8/10. So I need to multiply both sides by 3 thousandths. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do this problem off to the side. I'm going to put 2 and 8/10 on the top because it is the one that has the most digits that are not zeros. Zeros at the front, zeros at the end make it different, but zeros at the front of a number don't. Okay, 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Now I have to count up my decimals. Here my 0 decimals do make a difference. 1, 2, 3, 4 decimals. I've got 1, 2, I need to add 3, 4, and then my decimal point. Different signs, answer is going to be negative. So G is going to equal negative 0.0084. 4. That's negative 84 10,000ths. That's how you say that number. All right, and our last two, go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own. Okay, let's check them. This one does say solve and check, so I do need to make sure I write it down. All right, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal to cancel out my fraction. 2's cancel out, 1's cancel out. I'm left with m. Nothing to cross cancel on this one. 2 and 7, 6 and 1 don't have any common factors besides 1. So I'm going to multiply straight across. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. 7 times 1 is 7. Negative 12 sevenths if I make it into a mixed number. 7 goes into 12 once, with 5 as a remainder, so negative 1, negative, because this one was negative. Negative 1 and 5 sevenths. All right, check means I need to actually write out a check, so I'm going to do it over here. 1/2 times, since I'm doing fraction multiplication, I'm going to put the improper one in. Negative 12 sevenths equals negative 6 sevenths. I'll multiply straight across on this one. And 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. 2 times 7 is 14. So negative 12 14ths, if I simplify it, does equal negative 6 sevenths. So we got that one correct. All right, let's look at this next one. If a project is handed in late, you receive 8/9 of, that's our times, your earned points. You received 72 points on your late project. How many points did you earn? So our earned points, that I'm going to call it is X. So of your earned. So 8/9 times our X. And then the total amount here is going to be 72. So 8/9 times X equals 72. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal to cancel out the fraction multiplication. Got to make that 72 into an improper fraction. 9's cancel, 8's cancel. I'm left with X. 8 and 72 will cross cancel. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 72 divided by 8 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Story problems need a label. My label on this one is going to be points.